joining me here at the Magic Wall is CNN's David Chalian to help break things down where things stand 2 days out. So, David, we know what the polls say, but what does the early vote tell us?
So, specifically in New York City, this is a poll result from Quinnipiac University last week. I want to show you why when I look at the early vote right now, looking at age breakdown the early vote. Here in this Quinnipiac poll, you see that Mamdani wallops Cuomo with younger voters, 18 to 34-year-olds. Voters above 50, you see that it's a slight Cuomo advantage, a 6-point advantage. So obviously that's a narrow advantage, Manu, but there are a lot more of these voters than there are of these voters, which is what gives the Cuomo world belief that they might have a path here. Take a look at the early voting numbers. So this is among registered Democrats, which, by the way, the vast majority of New York City voters are. Voters 18 to 29 in the early vote to date, which, by the way, ends today, 16% of the electorate, early voting electorate is 18 to 29. 51% of the early voting electorate is 50 and above. Again, that disparity is what is giving the Cuomo campaign some belief that they're turning out their voters. I will note, over the time of the last week, it has been getting a little younger. This isn't quite as young as the electorate was in the Democratic primary, which catapulted Mamdani's victory, but it is still a far younger electorate than we saw 4 years ago in New York City. When it comes to New Jersey in the early vote, take a look at the partisan breakdown rather than the age breakdown. 52% of early voters in New Jersey are Democrats. 29% are Republicans. That's a big hole for Ciattarelli to dig out of. And in fact, Sherrill is more on track when you look at the partisanship of the early vote than Harris was a year ago in the presidential when she still won the state by 6 points.
That's so interesting. And, you know, Democrats tend to do better in early voting as well. And you could tell us a lot. Tuesday can also give us some indication about whether Democrats have done a better job of winning back some of those voters they lost to Donald Trump in the last cycle. Trump made inroads with people of color in particular. Talk about that and New Jersey in particular, where Democrats are focusing in these final days.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is why we saw Barack Obama where we saw him yesterday. I mean, he was here in Essex County, New Jersey, home to Newark. Okay, take a look at the demographic breakdown of Essex County, New Jersey. 36% black, a quarter Latino. It is a majority minority county in New Jersey. Newark itself, 45% African American. Clearly, the goal of the Sherrill campaign was to get Barack Obama to rally that Democratic base, especially with voters of color. Another battleground for voters of color is just next door here in Passaic County. Take a look here at the demographic breakdown in Passaic County. It is 43.4% Latino. This is the kind of place that drove Donald Trump's narrowing of his margin of defeat in New Jersey 4 years ago. In fact, he flipped Passaic County. He won it. He edged out Kamala Harris in this county just a year ago. If you compare that to his race against Joe Biden in 2020, Biden won Passaic by 16 percentage points, but Trump actually flipped it. And given that Latino population there, you understand why both Sherrill and Ciattarelli have been spending so much time here in Passaic County. Ciattarelli trying to maintain, extend those gains Trump made. Sherrill, of course, trying to thwart that progress that Trump had made with Latino voters in New Jersey.
Yeah, so much to chew on there. Thank you, David, for that. And we have an excellent panel. The two of the best in the business also, along with David Chalian, to break this all down. Amy Walter with the Cook Political Report and CNN's Jeff Zeleny. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Happy election almost eve.
I know. It's the best time of the year.
Best time of the year, exactly. So New Jersey seems to be shaping up to be perhaps the marquee race on Tuesday night, perhaps seems to be the most competitive race. How much do you think this is ultimately going to be a referendum on Trump himself?
Yeah, I do think the most important thing about off-year elections is it's a chance for a reset. We've been spending so much of our time in politics for the last year talking about 2024. We've been looking in the rearview mirror about what happened in that election. Now we're getting into the fact that Donald Trump no longer a candidate. He's now the president. It is a referendum on him. New Jersey, however, also has a Democratic governor who he's not as unpopular as Trump is in the state, but folks there not particularly happy with the cost of living in the state, a lot of it driven by high energy costs. And so the governor also a little bit more of a drag on the Democrat than you'll see in a place like Virginia that has a Republican governor. But fundamentally, Manu, my overall point is the electorate is going to look different in an off year than it looked in an on year. And it is driven in many ways by how people feel about the sitting president and the policies of that president much more than it was back in 2024 about the theory of Donald Trump.
Yeah, and we've seen Jack Ciattarelli, the Republican, he's embracing Donald Trump. Trump has not been on the campaign trail. We've seen Trump endorse Ciattarelli, done teletown rallies, the Truth Social posts, and the like. And you look at the polls about the enthusiasm gap that exists. It's pretty stunning. I mean, Ciattarelli supporters have a 62% in this poll, more enthusiastic about voting, very enthusiastic compared to Mikey Sherrill's supporters. That's from just a few days ago. The Democrats believe that Trump is dragging him down. This is what the New Jersey City mayor said to Vanity Fair. Said Ciattarelli is running a great campaign, but the deal he made with Donald Trump to secure the nomination could be the reason he doesn't win this thing. Stephen Fulop thinks that Ciattarelli would be up 12 or 15 points if Trump weren't in the White House.
I mean, I don't know about 12 or 15, but I think there is no doubt that, look, both sides are betting on Trump, and Ciattarelli needs those Trump supporters, at least a share of them, to come out. Otherwise, he doesn't have much of a chance. But you're right about the change argument. If every election is a change election, it doesn't quite work as cleanly in New Jersey because Mikey Sherrill is trying to do something, run for governor, that hasn't been done since 1961 in New Jersey, and that is she would be effectively the third term of a Democratic governor's administration. Usually it flips over after 8 years. But look, Passaic County, to David's point, that is going to be the place to watch because it's where Trump made his gains among Latino voters. I was there a couple weeks ago talking to the mayor, and he's a Democrat. He said, we are looking for voters with buyer's remorse. So the question is, are all of those Trump voters going to show up in an off-year election? No, they're not, but some will. And the question is, the immigration policies, those will be on the ballot. The economic policies, the cost of living, that too is on the ballot. And as I've been spending time in Virginia as well, boy, it is a clean change argument there because it is so close to Washington, a stone's throw across the river here. The federal government still shut down. That is weighing very heavy on this. Military families, federal contractors and things. And they are ready for change in Richmond. Of course, it's been governed for 4 years by a Republican. So slightly different in each state, but there's no doubt Trump is hanging heavy over this entire race, as presidents always do in these off-year elections.
And we saw that enthusiasm gap really explains one big reason why Democrats were excited to see Barack Obama on the campaign trail in these key states in the final days of obviously the biggest Democratic surrogate there is out there. He very much was attempting to try to nationalize this race and tie it to Donald Trump.
Every day, this White House offers up a fresh batch of lawlessness and carelessness and mean-spiritedness and just plain old craziness. He's deployed the National Guard in American cities and claimed to be stopping crime waves that don't actually exist. We got masked ICE agents pulling in unmarked vans and grabbing people off the streets, including U.S. citizens. Don't vote, vote.
What do you make of that message and the effectiveness of that argument?
Well, the message is pretty consistent with what Barack Obama is saying over these last several months as he has stepped up his criticism of the current president on a whole bunch of issues. He also has had some criticism for some of these institutions that he sees capitulating to the Trump administration, whether it be law firms or universities or the like. But the messenger is the point here, obviously, in the closing days. And to Amy's point about what this off-year electorate looks like, Barack Obama's mission is to try and make sure that some of those folks, like you said, looking for buyer's remorse, that they actually come out. His mission is also to juice turnout among voters of color, where we saw Donald Trump make significant inroads across the board. Now, we should just remember as we're talking about this, all four key elections that we're watching on Tuesday night, the California ballot measure initiative, Virginia, New Jersey, and the New York City mayor's race, this is all on blue turf. This is all on sort of the DNA of these places is more Democratic than Republican. I'm not suggesting that makes this easy for anyone. We know that Democrats have problems, but I think part of Barack Obama's mission is to sort of make sure the natural DNA of these places turns out.
And David, I think that is such an important point because, again, what we've been talking about for the last year is Democratic sort of intra-party fighting, the fact that Democrats themselves as party members not happy with the party, not happy with leadership, feels like it's feckless and rudderless. Are they going to turn out? Are they inspired? The one thing we know that we've been watching for the last 8 years is there's one person who does inspire Democrats. It's not really Barack Obama. It's Donald Trump.
And if you look at the candidates in both of the states, that's also so interesting because
Yes.
Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey and Abigail Spanberger in Virginia, they were part of that blue wave
That's
back
right.
in 2018. Manu, you well remember them arriving into the House of Representatives as the Democratic majority makers.
Yep.
So will they do it again? Of course, the circumstances are different. The challenges are more in New Jersey. But it is sort of Democrats are looking for a shot in the arm. But this is not going to lead them out of the wilderness or offer a clean path forward because New York, of course, complicates some of those moderate messages.